Hey guys, before we get started with today's video, I want to tell you guys that from now until February the 5th, Pearl Abyss is running a creator code event where if you guys use code choice, you guys can benefit me directly as a content creator. A portion of the money you guys spend on pearls will go to me as a sort of bonus kickback. I really appreciate you guys very, very much for using my code when you buy pearls until February the 5th. Thanks so much. Yo, what is up guys? I'm bringing you a brand new video, and today we're talking about the central marketplace and all of the hidden mechanics of how this thing works. If you guys are a veteran player, you might be thinking, damn, I probably already know how the marketplace works. This is not how to use the market. This is how to manipulate and understand how registrations work, how orders work, how sales work, and how to take advantage of it from a practical standpoint. Not a tutorial on how to use it, but how to abuse it. So let's start off with what kind of practical applications does this even have? First of all, at the end of this video, what you're going to be able to know how to do is you're going to know how to sell an item before anybody else. You're going to know how to buy items before anybody else. And you're going to know the limitations on when you can't sell or buy items before anybody else, because there are actual rules depending on what type of item it is, as well as things like, is it a marketplace registration queue item? Is the item at the true max price, just a max price, min price, true min price, all these other terminologies that we're going to discuss here in the video. So let's start off with the terminology here. An item at true max price is an item like this. So any item that is at the max price of its range and there is a blue up arrow is a true max price item. This means that this item cannot exceed past 1 million silver. No matter how demanded this item is, it will never go higher than this number. However, in an example of something else, let's go with something like this. So with this ring here, this is the maximum price of this item within this range, but without the presence of an up arrow, that tells you that this item can actually still increase in value. So despite the fact that this item has a max price of 2790, you can still go higher than this if the demand is there. So true max price, the arrow is present. True, or just max price, the arrow is not present. Similarly, this item is subsequently also on true min price. So true min price is when there's a down arrow present. This is the bottom of this range. It cannot go lower than this particular range at all. No matter how sold out this item is, it'll never go lower. But an item can be at, say, min price. And an example is this. This is min price for this item, but see how there's no down arrow? That means that this item could potentially go lower than what you're seeing here. So that's the terminology. We got true max price with the up arrow, max price, which is this, min price, which is this, and true min price, which is this with a down arrow. So that's what that means. Now, let's go with what practical knowledge this actually creates for you. So when an item, we're going to talk about now cheaper items. So items that don't go inside of this marketplace registration queue. So items that don't go in the marketplace registration queue, those items have different rules compared to the ones that do go in the marketplace registration queue. So I'm going to use the example of this Bong Wangs tier. This item here is at true min price, and it does not go on the marketplace registration queue. What this means is that this item will sell in order that it was listed. So if you were the 36,316th person to put your Bong Wang tier, that means that all 36,000 are going to have to sell before yours sells. And let's say during this time, another 10,000 orders get stacked on top of yours. You're still in position 36,316. It doesn't matter that more people add sales because they get put behind you in line. What matters is that you put the order and you let it sit here. So for example, in this item, I listed this October the 4th. During that time, I've accumulated 18 more of these. If I was to hit relist and I was to list 41 of these, I have now reset my position. I could be in position 30,000. But I'm about to put myself in position 36,000 if I was to relist this. So the strategy is to let these 23 sell, and then once these sell, I then list up the however many I've accumulated within the year that it's taken for these to sell. Otherwise, they're just never going to sell. And why is this knowledge practical? Well, I hear it all the time. People say Origins of Dark Hunger, they don't sell. This money is bad at DSR or Tungrad Ruins. These actually sell every 2.5 days. But if you accumulate an Origin of Dark Hunger every 2 days, it could take you over half a month to be able to sell Origins. Because what you're doing is you're listing one, then you're getting another one in the 2 days. You're listing 2 at a time now, but you just reset your position. And then you get another one, and now you listed 3, but you reset your position again. And in that time, you could have sold 1, nearly 2, but instead you've sold 0 because you keep on resetting your position in line. So it's very important that you do not do that when you're trying to sell these min-list items. You need to wait for the first lot to sell, and then the second lot, you list however many you have at that time. Now, let's talk about when the item is max price. So when an item is at true max price, like in the example of the Rasholka's Corals here, this item here is sold in order. Or not in order, pardon me. This item is sold in random. So that means that I could win 100 of these. I could put another order up for 100 and win another 100 right away. Despite there not being 94,000 sales, I could win the next 200 of these, assuming that I'm lucky enough. So in this instance, it's not first come, first serve. It is purely random because it is at true max price. But if this item was not at true max price, so in the example of this helmet, if I was to have orders, let's say that there were none of these helmets here. Okay, so in this instance, I think I just listed mine. But in that instance, let's say that I had orders here. If I had orders and someone else had orders, actually, I got a good idea. No, actually, it's not a good idea. Okay. Just let's just do a little thought exercise here. If I had orders and somebody else had orders at max price, this right here is first come, first serve because there is no up arrow present. So what that means is that if I get the first 5 orders and someone else puts another 5 orders, 5 helmets will guaranteed sell to me before they sell to the next person. It is a first come, first serve situation. It is not like the corals, which can be truly random because there is no true max price indicator. So that's how that works. Now, when an item is min price, so just like this item will also sell in a first come, first serve method. So if I was to list my items at min price or true min price, it is purely an order of first listing gets sold first. When an item is at max price like this, it is first listing, first order gets fulfilled first. But if it's at true max price, it is random. So in the example of this is random. So everything is first come, first serve when an item does not go in the marketplace registration queue, except for purchase orders at very, very max price, true max price. But this rule is not actually the rule for items that go on the marketplace registration queue. So marketplace registration queue items, they follow a different law. And that is, if an item is at max price or true max price, so let's do Resplendent Alchemy Stones, for example. This item is at max price, but not true max. This item here will sell at random. You have a chance to win this. There is no amount of speed that can get you this item. You have a 1 in 3. If I put an order, I'd have a 1 in 4 chance of winning this stone. It doesn't matter whether it's at true max or just max price. It is purely random. Similarly, if you have an item that is, say, at min price, so let's go Splendid Alchemy Stone of Protection. This item is not at true min price, so that means that this item is actually going to sell in order of first listing. So if I list this item first, if I was the first out of these 12 people to list this item, and one of these happens to sell, it would actually sell from me first. I would get the money. But if this item goes down to true min price, wherein the down arrow is present, that means that it will become random at that point. So it's actually pretty important to get your listing first in situations where an item is going to dump all the way to the bottom. So that's how that works. And another really interesting function too, a myth that a lot of people think, is this alchemy stone right here. Right now there's, let's say, 3 people with 1 order each. If I put up 1 order, I have a 25% chance of winning the next stone that goes up. Okay? Because it is random. And a lot of people think, well, why don't I just put up 5 orders? And now I have a 5 in 8 chance of winning. That's not actually how that works. Putting multiple orders of the same item doesn't actually increase your chances of winning one item. It just makes it where if somebody sells more than one at that time and you win the bid, you'll win all of what they sold. That's how that actually works. So let's use the example here of a Rasholka coral. So right now, I have an order of 100 of these. Let's say that somebody lists 42 of them. If they list 42 and I win the bid for one, for a single one, I will then win all 42 because it gives me the full lot of whatever somebody listed. Similarly, if somebody listed 70 and I won the full lot, I could win all 70. But let's say somebody listed now 500 at a time. I could have my full 100 orders completed, and then it would go to the next person. And let's say the next person only had an order of 20. Well, it's going to fill that order of 20, and then it's going to take the remaining 380, and it's going to disperse it amongst whatever people win, second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place, however long it needs to go, before they end up ultimately dispersing all 500 of those corals. But it is RNG. It's RNG whether you win the first one, but if you do win the first one, you will win all 100 if that person is selling 100. But in the example of an alchemy stone, unless you need more than one resplendent alchemy stone of life, there is no benefit in you putting an order of 5 versus 1. All you're doing is risking the possibility that you could buy more than what you needed. In the example of an alchemy stone, I'm not even sure you can sell 2 at a time. I don't think you can, but let's say you could in the whatever item we're talking about. You wouldn't want to put 2 orders if you only need 1 of that item, because someone could sell 2 and you'd be stuck with 2. So it wouldn't actually be a good thing. It's just, and it's not increasing your chances of winning 1 of those 2 or 2 of those 2. It just makes it where you have the same chance of winning 1 of the 2 that someone listed, and instead of it giving you both, it would have given you 1 and given 1 other to the other person. So that's how that would have worked. So now, let's talk about the marketplace and when it updates. So now that we know there's a couple ways that you can abuse the marketplace. So we've already talked about Splendid Alchemy Stones. If you have one of these items and you're desperately trying to get it sold for the highest price possible, it would be in your best interest to know when this item is about to drop in price. Because when this item drops in price, you could get the first sale, and if somebody buys it, you get the money. So it's very advantageous. Similarly, let's say in the example of an item that doesn't go in the marketplace registration queue, but is very sold out. So let's go with, well, the example that I really benefited the most off in this case is Lightstones. When Lightstones like Strikes, Feathers, and all these other cool Lightstones came out in 2022, I was able to buy my full suite of Lifestones by timing the market, putting the first order when the marketplace resets, and then I would have first order, which meant that the next time one of them sold, I would get the bid. But that's uniquely because those items do not go in the marketplace registration queue. So if an item does or does not go in the marketplace registration queue when you're selling an item, it's worth timing the market before it reaches minimum price, true minimum price, because you can sell it early. And if the item does not go in the marketplace registration queue and you're trying to buy that item, knowing when the marketplace ticks up is good for being able to buy that item. So now let's talk about how that all works. So see how sometimes you'll notice, This hasn't happened in many hours because I know that it's not within the window. The marketplace will only ever update between 4 a.m. Central Time and 8 p.m. Central Time. Now, could vary by region, but I just know this for NA. But it's 4 a.m. Central for NA and 8 p.m. Central for NA. And the items will update every 6 hours within that window. And after the last update for that day, there's a 14-hour gap before the next listing the following morning. So say an item gets listed at 7:30 p.m. Central. You know that 14 hours from then at 9:30 a.m. Central, that is when that item will actually be updated once again. An item is not guaranteed to have updated if that item is already at equilibrium, but for a highly volatile item where this actually matters, then you'll know that every update is going to be every 6 hours, starting in the morning. After it reaches the final no later than 8 p.m. cutoff, 14 hours from then, it'll then update after that. However, there are items in a category A and items in a category B. I know this is all confusing, and I know I'm losing some of you guys, but I'm going to show you a practical application with timestamps and stuff. Just give me a second to get through this, and then we'll go to that. So there's also items in category A and category B. Category A items also update every 6 hours and also update within the 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central time window. Category B items, they also update every 6 hours, and they also update within those windows, but it updates 3 hours after category A. So there's a marketplace tick every 3 hours. Category A updates, then category B updates 3 hours later. And then 3 hours later, because it's been 6 hours since category A updated, category A updates. And then 3 hours later, category B updates. So let's show you what that looks like. So this right here is a very old Garmoth message chain here where I had set up marketplace alerts. And this is where I first learned of this. So let's scroll up here a little bit and just kind of pick something as an example. So let's go with, let's do this right here. So as you can see, let's start with the morning of this. So as you can see, in the morning of June 30th at 4:04 a.m., a feather decreased in price. Then, because this is a category A item, 3 hours later at 7:04 a.m., the category B item, Stir and Strike, it updated. So then naturally, if we're following our rules that I just set out, that means that 3 hours from now, category A will update again. So I can fully expect that a feather is going to update at 10:04 a.m., 3 hours after category B. And lo and behold, at 10:04 a.m., feather updates. So then, category B, it's going to update in 6 hours from its original update, or 3 hours after category A, which means that it's going to update at 1:04 p.m. And as you can see, 1:04 p.m., Stir and Strike gets updated. Okay, well, let's go even further. You can see now at 4:04 p.m., there is an update of feather, once again, so 6 hour gap. And naturally, you can expect that 1:04 p.m. was the last update for Stir and Strike, so therefore we can expect that at 7:04 p.m., boom, Stir and Strike went up in price. Now, here's where things get a little bit tricky. Remember the original rule. Items do not update after 8 p.m. So that means that the next price update for feather would have been 10:04 p.m., which means that it could not happen. You can see that 10:04, right, 10:21, these are just item sale notifications. So these will be updated as they happen, but it's not a price update, right? So the price update never happened. So when can we expect that a feather is going to update, given that it didn't update at 10:04 p.m.? We can expect it 14 hours later. Therefore, 6:04 a.m., I expect a feather price change. Lo and behold, 6:04 a.m., feather changed. So how is this useful? Well, if you know when the updates are happening for an item, you can immediately list your high value items for sale because you know a price decrease is about to happen, and you could be the first person to list it, and therefore you're going to get the first money whenever someone buys it. Similarly, in the example of a price increase item like a strike, if I get the first order on this item, right? So let's say that I know that it's 7:04 p.m. There's no marketplace tick past 8. That means this item's updating at 9:04 a.m. I know that I can wake up the next morning at 9 a.m., get to my computer, be prepared, and know, bang, 9:04 a.m., there's a price increase. And now I can put this order at 1.38 billion, and I can win this item for significantly cheaper than the max price of 5 billion, which is exactly what I was doing, is I was buying as many strikes as I could. So that way there, I could just profit/use them. So very, very useful to know when these marketplace ticks happen, and they always follow that same rule. However, something you will note is that items do not always update at XX04. If we scroll even higher than this, you can see that we've got XX06. And if we scroll even higher than that, you can see we have XX29. Okay. Which I don't even know why it updated XX29. I think that might have been a Garmoth issue. But let's go even further back here. Well, I don't want to go too far. Let's go down more. So notice how we have 04, XX04. I know I have more examples here. Okay, boom, here's war. No, that's not it. There we go. Nope, that's not it. Here we go. Here's one. XX33. And then we've got 6 a.m. We've got 6 a.m. I wish these resplendents weren't griefing my examples here, guys. Not going to lie. Okay, let's just go all the way down to the present. So notice how recently they're updating at XX24. You might be wondering, why is this item updating at now 24 when in the past it was updating at 04, 06, whatever? Well, the time that it actually updates is random on the first tick after the maintenance. So a maintenance will happen on Thursday, and the first tick is going to set the momentum for the entire week. So if an item gets updated at, in this example, so right now it is Monday. So we're going to go all the way back to the 15th. So here we go, 15th. This first item tick right here, I actually made a mistake because I set a Korean price. But let's just say this was an NA price. This marketplace tick at 7:58 a.m. should have set the pace for the whole week. But here's the actual first tick that I had because I kind of messed it up. So 11:25 a.m. is the first marketplace tick. So now I can predict, without even looking at this, I know when the next updates of every single one of these price decreases is. And I'm going to predict it right now using the never before 4 a.m., never after 8 p.m., always 6 hours apart, and always 14 hours apart after the last marketplace tick. So knowing that rule, I can predict everything. So you can see that in this example, 11:25 a.m., the next tick is at 5:25 p.m., 6 hours later. However, the next tick can never happen at 11:25 p.m., which means that the next tick is going to happen at 7:25 a.m. 7:25 a.m. rolls around, the next tick. 6 hours from then, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 p.m., 1:26 p.m., boom, another change. Then, because it's before 8 p.m., I know that at 7:25 p.m., there's another tick. Now I know that it cannot go past 8 p.m., therefore, it's going to happen at 9:25 a.m. Boom, 9:25 a.m., 6 hours later. So 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30 p.m., so 3:25 p.m., another tick. Now I know that it can't go past 8 p.m., so there will not be one at 9:25, which means that there has to be one at 5:25 a.m. Boom, 5:25 a.m. So you can see how this is useful information. I can time every single tick all the way down and get the first sale order on this stone permanently until somebody buys it. And then when someone buys it, I make a lot of money on an item that otherwise is crashing down to 150 billion. I could potentially sell this item for 500 billion and it was only worth 150 in the future. So that's essentially how that could be useful information. Similarly, that is how it is useful when you are trying to buy an item that is very low valued on the marketplace, but very high valued in reality. Now, I believe that is everything in practical. Yeah, in practical knowledge. Something that's kind of interesting too is, let's talk a little bit about items that go in the registration queue just briefly. So I found out a couple things a while ago regarding how orders on stuff work. So let's say, for example, Splendid Alchemy Stones. If somebody had an order at 605 billion silver on a Splendid, and somebody listed one for 600 billion, it would actually not sell to 605. It would reset your order when that 600 billion got listed. So like, it's kind of like a troll move where if you put up that order and somebody lists it for 600, it'll like reset your order. It's a very weird interaction. The other weird thing that happens too, it's not essentially weird, but if you have an order at 605 billion and somebody lists an item for 605 billion, despite the fact that you're not, despite the fact that this item is not at true max price or max price, nobody can list higher than you. Okay, so what that means is if you have an order at 605 and a stone gets listed at 605, nobody can actually put up an order for 610. It won't allow you to do that. It'll only allow you to put an order at 605 in which it becomes an RNG battle, 50-50, whether you or the other guy wins it. So that's something interesting to mention. And why is this knowledge useful? Well, the knowledge is useful because you can always update an order after the fact, but you can never update an order before the fact, or I don't know how that, and essentially think of it like this. Let's say you really want this item, and you're the only person that has an order at 540 billion. If you're diligently watching the marketplace and you leave this item at 540 billion, and somebody lists an item for 580, you can up your order to 580, and you can have the RNG chance of winning it at 580 if somebody else puts an order at 580. And you know that it's not first come, first serve, so that person, let's say somebody else saw it before you, they couldn't put an order for 620 and have the first chance of winning it. That's not how that would work. It would be an RNG battle. So why is this practical knowledge? The knowledge is, don't grief yourself by, if you really want an item, you don't have to bother for an item like this. You don't have to bother putting a max order right away. If I wanted this item, I'd put an order at 540 so I get marketplace notifications of whenever one gets listed. And if I decide I want it at 620, I will update my order within that 15-minute window at my leisure. But by putting an order at 620 right away, that signals to all the salesmen there that are trying to sell this stone, oh, I'm going to list it at 620. It gives them a chance to list it at 540. If you have an order at 620, they have no choice but to list it at 620 because it will sell for 620. So you should give yourself the option of choosing, if you're going to be at your computer anyway, give yourself the option of putting it at a lower price, so that way the salesperson could potentially pick a lower price than max. And if they happen to choose max, then you update your order, and no harm, no foul. So that's a little bit of practical knowledge for that. But yeah, other than that, guys, I think that's pretty much it. I hope that you guys found this video very useful. I mean, it's a 30-minute video, so it's kind of long, and I was yapping a lot, but it's a lot of unknowns. I think that lots of people accidentally reset their sale orders with hitting the relist button. A lot of people don't understand marketplace ticks, so I explained all that. A lot of people don't really know how the whole first come, first serve thing works with like buying versus selling and stuff. So hopefully you found this insightful. I really appreciate you guys for watching. And thank you guys so much. I hope you guys subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.